Hello everybody and welcome back to today's ship review episode where I'm going to review this Tier 7 premium Soviet battleship, the Poltava. Now, first, before I start the review, disclosure purposes, the ship was provided to me by Wargaming without charge for the purposes of reviewing the ship. My opinions of the ship are entirely my own and do not reflect the opinions of Wargaming or the World of Warships staff. Alright, so before I get to the actual review, if I sound a little bit tired or low energy, I apologize for that. I had a bout of food poisoning yesterday, which I'm still recovering from. And yeah, so if I make any mistakes or anything like that, please forgive me. I apologize for those things ahead of time. Alright, so Poltava. The good, the bad, the ugly. The good. She has fantastic gun arcs. You're going to be able to sit really well angled, pretty much be able to bring out all of your firepower, and enemy ships are not really going to be able to get huge amounts of damage through your sides or the angled pieces of armor. However, you can still be overmatched. So since the bow is a huge bow with 25mm everywhere except for this little piece down here, that giant bow is easy to hit. So you don't want to point your bow at the opponent. Ideally, you want to point your stern at them, like kind of sit like this towards them. And you'll see you have a nice 200mm piece protecting you there with a very small 25mm piece there. And with the phenomenal gun arcs, and the gun arcs are absolutely phenomenal, you're going to be able to sit in this auto bounce range and bring all of your guns to bear. Furthermore, she has very nice belt armor for the Citadel. 370mm is equivalent to what the Vladivostok has, so very good for Tier 7. Although please do keep in mind that your Citadel is above water, which still means if you go broadside in front of battleships with good penetration, they are still going to Citadel you. However, if you angle the main belt correctly as well, hey, even without the auto bounce, people are going to shatter shells on your side. So all in all, in terms of the armor protection, not too bad for Poltava. So yay on that regard. Survivability wise, her HP is lower than the Sinop, but her torpedo protection is significantly better. I'm going to be comparing her to Sinop a lot because in my personal opinion, if you're going to buy this thing, you might as well just grind to Sinop and play the Sinop. Sinop is a vastly superior ship in my opinion, and I'll explain to you why in a second. Her big selling point, but at the same time also her big problem, is actually her main guns. 356mm. If you heard that at Tier 7 and you immediately cringed, you know why. 356mm guns do not overmatch 25mm plating, which means that enemy battleships, hell even higher tier cruisers, can just point their bows at you and there's nothing you can do about them. So you might be saying, hey, but Scharnhorst and Duke of York also have, smaller than 380 guns, right? But think about it this way, Scharnhorst has torpedoes and Duke of York has very good HE. Poltava has decent HE, but she struggles to actually land a lot of them, and that's going to be explained next, because the issue that she has is that she's got 1.7 Sigma on very high velocity guns. She's kind of got like Roma syndrome, except Roma has actually better Sigma than she does. So her guns are going to be erratic at best. Sometimes you land these beautiful salvos that you go, wow, how did I land that? And some days you land stuff and you go, wait, that should have been better, and it wasn't. So the main guns are kind of supremely disappointing. While she does have reasonably good HE fire chance and reasonably good HE shell damage, the issue fundamentally is you just don't hit enough of them to make that big of a difference. I think the most consistent salvos I've hit was like 5,000, maybe 6, and that's kind of it. She does, like I said, have decent fire chance, so you can get fires, but yeah, issues. Not consistent enough in the dispersion department. Her main battery range of 18.3 is entirely okay for this particular ship, as you're pretty much going to try to get yourself into the best possible position, make sure that the opponent is being anchored down and having to force them to angle one of your own battleships, and you get nice broadside shots. That's really what you're hoping for. Secondary armament hasn't really ever come into effect for me. Most of my games do not get that close, because if you do, boy, are things looking a little rough for you. So secondary armament, you have them, not super important. In terms of AA, she has better long range A DPS than Sinop does, but her mid range and short range is worse. So I mean, yeah, her AA is kind of meh. I mean, never really been able to stop any strike when they're coming for me. Furthermore, maneuverability. Okay, so she's not slow, 30.5 knots with a speed flag. She's, you know, an okay speedy kind of battleship, but 1,000-meter turning radius and an almost 12-second rudder. Sinop has a smaller turning circle radius by about 40 meters, and her rudder shift time is almost 2 seconds. Well, it's like 1 point. I think it's like 1.6 seconds faster, and that makes a difference. Sinop is going to be a little bit more agile. Poltava, when you're playing her in game, she just feels sluggish. Like, I kind of describe her as, you know, trying to turn a floating brick around. She's just not very agile. However, her concealment is not bad. 12.2 is actually pretty good surface concealment, and like I said, does allow you to at least position yourself, hopefully in a place where your main guns can actually do something. Because again, small puny guns with no overmatch capability means that you have real problems, especially when you get into tier 8 and tier 9 games. In some of those games, it's almost like, hey, you might as well just spend your time firing HE, because AP is just not doing all that much. Alright, in terms of your consumables, you have the Soviet damage control party, you have 4 repair party consumables, and you have access to a fighter. No scout plane though. Recommended upgrades, I would say take main armaments mod 1, take damage control systems mod 1, take aiming systems mod 1, and take the steering gears mod 2, because without it, the ship feels even more of a brick. Super sluggish. Alright, for a captain build, alright, this is where there's some variability, I would say. This is how I would do it, which is a very standard BB build. I would take priority target, take adrenaline rush, take superintendent, take concealment expert, take fire prevention, take basics of survivability, and then take jack of all trades. Of course, I'm running Nikolai Kuznetsov. If you're running a normal captain, you still be running exactly the same thing. There is one part of possible contention, is maybe trading something for expert loader, possibly, and you know, maybe taking away basics of survivability and trading for something like expert marksman and expert loader instead. And the reason why is because you are going to be switching a lot between AP and HE, and sometimes that might help to switch quickly. Furthermore, the expert marksman does help, as the turret traverse is 45 seconds without it, so that particular skill should be of assistance. Anyways, enough from the port view. You know, you kind of know the strengths, the weaknesses. Let me show you the ship in battle, and hopefully by the end of that battle you'll have a pretty good idea what the ship can and cannot do. So here we go, Greece map, and I'm playing the Poltava, and yeah, that first salvo didn't look all that good. Alright, there was one thing that I think I also wanted to mention during the port view, but I might have forgotten. I'm not even sure anymore. My mind's a little fuzzy. But the Sinop, which also had the sort of overmatch and all that advantage, right? So you'd figure that maybe Poltava had a penetration advantage. And if you actually look at the penetration graphs, Poltava's penetration is slightly better at close range, a range which you really don't want to get to, but actually drops off to be worse than the Sinops at longer distances. So these two ships in terms of penetration performance are actually very similar. So what you can get with the Poltava, you can pretty much do with the Sinop as well in terms of penetration. Of course, you know, again, the Sinop does get better as you get closer, while the Poltava doesn't get affected by that. And I guess she's a little bit more reliable in a little bit of a longer range fight. So anyways, I'm going to shift over to the other cap, and I'm going to have a couple of broadside battleships to shoot, so you can pretty much get a sense of what kind of damage you're going to get when you get broadside battleships. So Bismarck, that's kind of normal actually. With Poltava's dispersion, typically you get shells that go over and under quite a bit. So if you get like a couple of penetrations, get like 10,000, maybe a little bit more than that, it's actually decent damage. Now of course you are going to get a situation where you can occasionally get some pretty nice broadsides, and you will get those Citadel hits. I mean, I had one situation in a different battle where I had was that a Monarch or a King George V? I think it was a King George V who was in just like a weird-ish kind of position, and during a very small turn I was able to get a triple Citadel. That is pretty rare, but it can happen. like I said, the guns do have pretty good penetration. It's the issue that they just can't overmatch, which you will see later as being kind of comical being in a battleship. So anyways, I'm just really looking around right now, hoping to find broadsides. With Poltava, you're going to be looking around a lot, hopefully getting the broadsides if ships are just inattentive. And you're going to have to position yourself in a way that allows you to get those broadsides. So here we go. I see that we have a Scharnhorst, a Bismarck, and everything that's further away to the west than I am. So I figure a lot of these BBs are going to probably try to angle them, so perfect time for getting broadside shots. That shot on the Sinop, let's not talk about it. It happens actually a lot where, like I said, you go over and under, and a lot of that has to do with the kind of ballistics of the guns or whatever. It's very similar to Roma. Roma does that too, a lot of over and under. So I'll try again, waiting for this Sinop to reappear and hopefully be at a slightly slower speed, which is like right there. I think the Sinop was mostly slowing down there, so I'm going to take another shot at him. And this salvo I think is going to be good there. Yep, I get a double citadel and a bunch of other penetrations, and so really, really good salvo there. Pick up some good damage. Alright, and this kind of angling, in fact, you can even do it to a little bit more of an extreme where you point your stern towards the opponent and you're getting all of your guns out, is kind of what you're going to be doing most of the time in the Poltava. Alright, get another shot in here. This dispersion actually didn't look too bad, and I did actually hit a decent number of shells for another 10,000 salvo. Alright, trying to see what else is going to give me a shot here. Ooh, Jutland's poked out. I assume that there'd be torpedoes heading maybe my way, so gonna just move up a little bit. Still looking for a shot. Sinop is turned away and angled again. Bismarck is not in a place I can shoot. So it looks like Missouri is probably going to be my best target. So get the guns around. Missouri still looks broadside enough. Take a salvo there. Yeah, shells look like they're going to be okay here. And let's see here. Yeah, 8,551 damage on 2 penetrations and an overpen. Now I am going to show this Missouri a little bit too much side here, but he's only going to get about 5,500 damage, although you can potentially be eating citadels in that kind of situation. So looking around the map, I'm seeing that the Missouri is probably trying to head towards the B cap, probably going to get maybe one more salvo into that particular Missouri before my attention is going to shift to the far side to where the C cap is, as I feel like there probably looks like there's going to be a bit of a push up to the north, and I might just get another broadside Nagato to shoot at there. So one more salvo on this Missouri, who is still looks like he's giving me enough of a broadside, although he is accelerating, which is probably going to, yeah, okay, not getting much there. Alright, so turn ship around, turn guns around, and looks like I might be getting a salvo on that Nagato next. I am, of course, looking for the Missouri just in case he is coming out broadside. Looks like he isn't, so alright. Gonna switch my attention over to this Nagato. 17.6 kilometers. Probably not gonna get any of the super amazing hits, but I will try. Okay, salvo 1. And you can see sometimes the 1.7 Sigma definitely plays a role, and you'll see shells that do that a lot. They're short and, going over. In this particular case, you saw a whole bunch of shells just land short. Happens with Poltava a lot. Alright, we'll try again and see if I can maybe get something a little bit better this time. I can tell the Nagato is going away from me, so I'm going to aim a little bit higher. Hopefully these shells will land a little bit better. Come on now, looking not so bad. Those shells have a tendency of going short, going long, and it is one of the most frustrating things about the ship. Honestly, if I was to design these sort of higher tier, let's say tier 7, and you got to use these small guns that don't have so many of the other things going for them, aka overmatched, all those kinds of things, I'd really give them good Sigma. I don't really understand why on earth this ship only gets 1.7 Sigma. It is truly painful to play. Oh yes, and this is going to make you feel absolutely horrible. Forget ships like Baltimore with their 27mm bows and the Prinz Eugen and things like that. a bloody Cleveland, is going to be able to point their bow at you, and there is just nothing you can do. I mean, technically speaking, this Cleveland could just bow into me and just spam me to death, and I will ricochet. Because watch this, because it's going to happen, and this Cleveland's actually giving me a little bit more side to even shoot at. But here we go. You can see he turns his bow towards me. Look at this. 4 ricochets. Like, oh. This is something I legitimately cannot stand about Poltava. Is that, you know, like if you're in tier 5, tier 6 match where, you know, cruisers don't have a lot, all right, you know, you're fine. You're fine with 356mm guns. And that's why I think the ship should have been like a tier 6 or something. But when you're a tier 7 and you've got puny guns, you've got erratic dispersion, you got no overmatch capacity, it's just like, why would you play this over Sinop, which has everything else going for it? You know, mind you, Sinop can also tank, bow in, you know, because Sinop has that very small little section on top that's 25, but at the bottom it's also really well armored. You know, and 406mm guns, they say a lot about what you're capable of. Like this Nagato, I just cannot shoot at because I'm just waiting for this Nagato to give me broadside. I could have just loaded HE as well. That is an alternative. I could have done that. But, you know, earlier I saw this Nagato giving me kind of 2 broadsides in a row, so I was thinking, hey, maybe he's not the world's best player, maybe he'll give me another broadside, maybe I'll be able to delete him. But if I was in a Sinop, I just simply wouldn't give a damn, because I would simply just be like, oh, you're trying, that's cute, bang, you know, at least 10k. Especially at this distance, too, because 8.3 kilometers is where the Russian dispersion starts to get really, really good. With Poltava, it's like, no, you get closer and your dispersion doesn't improve, you know, you're nothing like the other Russian battleships, and just not a good ship all in all. Honestly, this is a ship that I guess I would play it if I was just trying to be like, all right, let's play it because I want to meme, I want to, you know, kind of troll around. This is not a good ship. Like, realistically speaking, why wouldn't you play Sinop? Sinop is just so much better in like every other category. You know, it's just overmatch, same penetrating capacity, you know, at closer ranges, you get better dispersion, all those things. All right, so yeah, I mean, Poltava, honestly, not a ship I would recommend spending money on. Let's put it that way. If you want to get it, if there is ever a chance where she comes in like the arsenal for certain resources, then okay. But if you're expected to spend like actual cash on this, I would be like, this is a pass. And Missouri also gets decimated by the Kitakaze's torpedo, so fantastic. Right, only remaining target really is the Musashi. I'm probably just going to waste this AP salvo and then just switch immediately to HE and just burn him for whatever damage is left. And that's pretty much it. This is pretty much game. And you'll see sort of the consistency with HE as well, and also the dispersion, and you kind of will see the issues that I was having with this particular ship. She's just very unremarkable except for that, you know, somewhat decent armor if you use it correctly in terms of angling, and the good gun arcs. Like, those are really it. There's not much else going for her that Sinop cannot do better. So for those of you who are thinking or considering or contemplating or whatever regarding acquiring the ship, I would just say you have a better one in Sinop. And maybe if you desperately need like a captain trainer or whatever, this one could be alright at tier 7, but then again, why wouldn't you just spend a little bit extra money and get Lenin? Lenin is an actual pretty darn good tier 8 premium Soviet battleship. Like, realistically, if you had a choice between this or Lenin, why wouldn't you just get Lenin? Because it's just not a contest at all. So anyhow, after my AP has been fired, now I've got an HE salvo loaded for this Musashi. I mean, this is pretty much all you're going to do. A lot of times when you're in a higher tier battle, you're going to be doing this. You're also probably wondering, like, why is it that I'm not showing you these amazing like 150k damage games? It's because honestly they don't serve much of a purpose in the grand scheme of ship reviews, because, you know, it's a tier 7 battleship. If you get a 150k game, it's a pretty good game. It's not like a normal every kind of game sort of situation. And furthermore, you know, I want to show you a battle where I really get to show you the weaknesses and strengths of the ship. With Poltava, you know, hey, she's pretty durable. You can see kind of overall, if you angle correctly, she's pretty durable, but the weaknesses in terms of the lack of overmatch, the erratic dispersion and everything. Show it to you, so now you can make a good informed decision whether or not you want it or not. So here we go. I'm just getting the last little bit of damage off of this Musashi. I'm going to be able to just break over 100,000 in this particular game. I mean, like, overall, my current averages for the ship, not doing too bad, but still, she's just not a ship I think I would normally play, because she's just too frustrating for me. Anyways, final result screen. So here we go, 102,791 damage. You know, got 2 fires, got 2 citadels, hit 59 times with my shells. Didn't really get a kill, which is kind of sad. 315,577 credits, 4,400 experience, 935 free experience. In terms of base experience, it was kind of middle of the pack there, 1,615 base. You know, other ships on my team did a whole lot better. In terms of damage there, you'll see mostly AP, some fire damage, some HE damage, and credits earned. You know, it's a premium ship, so it does earn you a little bit. Anyways, folks, I hope this gives you a good idea what Poltava is like. I personally do not recommend you buy her, but hey, if she tickles your fancy, or you're like, you know, kind of a anti-meta person, then go for it. Other than that, take care of yourselves, have a good one, and I'll talk to all of you again next time.